Hello there, welcome back to Like Cookies, it's Ili, and today I'm gonna be showing you how to add health or mana system in your game. We're here in Uchronia Project Blender game engine where we have the default scene. We can now press A to select everything and press X to delete the selection. This is the first thing we want to do. Then I will press 7 on the numpad to go to the top view. And now I will add a few meshes. I'll add a mesh for a player, another one for an enemy, and the final one will be a plane in particular for the health bar of this enemy. So press Shift A to add a mesh, add a monkey for our player, for example, press R and then X, then negative 90 degrees and press enter to align it to the view. Then I will press GY to move it along the y-axis and make room for the other meshes. Speaking of the other meshes, Shift A again, add a sphere for example for our enemy, GY again to make room for the health bar. Now Shift A, add a plane, and this is our health bar. I know it doesn't really look like one, so I will resize it. Press S and then Y, scale it down along the y-axis. I'll move this up a bit, and this will be our health bar. The idea for this health bar is to give us a nice representation, visual representation of the state of the health of the enemy. By scaling the health bar's X dimension, like so. I will simulate it by pressing S and then X, and you can see that if it's down to 0, maybe, of course, we have an enemy with zero health points. I will, however, choose another way to do this, and I will show it to you. You might like it more, and of course you can use whichever you like. So press Tab to enter edit mode, and then GX and then 1 to move it along the x-axis with one Blender unit. Press enter, tab again to go to object mode, and then GX-1. What did this do? Well, it simply moved the center of mass of the health bar to here, to its left side, which got us the following thing. Press S and then X to scale it along the x-axis, and you can see that we have more realistic health bar. Now what we want to do is we want to rename our objects with something logical. So this is my player, I will rename it to player. Let's make it with a capital P, player. This is my enemy. This is the health bar. Now what we want to do is we want to parent these two objects. We want to create a parent-child connection between them. This will be the child and the enemy will be the parent. So select the child object first, then Shift select the parent object, Control P and set parent to object. You can see this tiny little line here connecting the center of mass of both of the objects. And you can see the tree here has been updated. Now we will add a few logic bricks and 1 or 2 scripts to create the logic between these two objects. We want for the player to send messages every time we press the spacebar to the enemy, and the enemy we want it to update its health every time it receives any damage. So first we will select the player and we will add a few sub-windows, one for the text editor here and one more for the logic editor. With the player selected, we will add a keyboard sensor to specify the spacebar here, and we will choose the tap option. Now we will add a message actuator, connect the two, collapse this controller, and for the message actuator we first want to add a game property to the player, and this property will be called damage. This damage property will be an integer, and the damage of the player, or the damage the player sends to the enemy, will be, let's say, 100. Now in order to send this 100 to the enemy, we want to go here in this actuator and specify to whom we send the message. We send it to the enemy, and then the subject that the enemy will listen for will be damage, and then the body will be, here we can choose text or property. We will choose a property and we will choose the damage property. Okay, everything here is done. Now we can go to the enemy and add a message sensor and sense for the, or listen for the damage subject. Okay, when we have this, we are ready for the controller. We'll get a Python controller and we'll connect it to the message sensor. Now we're ready for the script. We'll add a new script and we will call it take underscore damage.py. Enter to confirm, and we'll choose it here. Everything here is done, so we collapse everything. And now we'll expand this a little bit. First of all, we want to get access to this controller. By doing this, we can access the object that owns the controller. And when we have the object, we can access everything else connected to the object. We can access its sensors, we can access its controllers, its actuators, and its values, its scale, its children even. And we will do this by first from BGE or Blender Game Engine import logic. Then to access the controller, we will type cont for controller equals to logic. This is where we need logic. Then get current controller. This line represents the controller that contains the current script, the takedamage.py script. Now we need the object that has the controller, so the owner of the controller. So type own equals controller's owner, like so, cont owner. And then we need to access the message sensor. So message underscore sense or sensor equals own.sensors, and here we specify the name of the sensor. Let's rename it to damage to be more accurate. And here you can type damage. This represents our sensor, our message sensor, and stores it in this variable. Now we can check if this sensor has been activated, if it sensed anything. So if message underscore sense dot positive, then, well, here comes the thing. Now we have only one player, and only one player can send damage messages to our enemy, but imagine a game where we have several units sending damage messages to a single unit. Now what we want to do is we want to check for every single message, so for all messages received or their bodies, if message sends dot bodies, this here is a list with the values that are received by the enemy. So if we have a non-empty list, then we'll loop through every value of this list and we will apply it as damage to our health. So for damage, let's say, in message underscore sense dot bodies, and now we can have this on. First we have to do something else. With this selected, we should add two game properties. One will be, the first will be max health, okay, and it will be an integer, and it will be, let's say, 900. And then we'll add another game property, and it will be current health. It will be integer as well, and it will be 900 as well. What this here means is that we have full health, so it's because our current health equals our max health. Okay, so now we should access our current health, or more like we have to update it. So we do this by typing own and then specify the name of the property here, the property of this object, which is called current health. Minus equals the damage. So for every damage up till now, for every damage value we have received, we will update the health. But there are a few conditions. There's first the condition that if we go down to 0, we want our health to stay 0. If we go less than 0, we still want our health to be 0. So this will happen the following way. If damage is greater than or equal to this here, if the damage is greater than or equal to current health of our enemy, then current health will be set to 0. Okay, else, so in every other condition, which is only if the damage is less than the current health, the current health will be decreased with the damage value. Okay, so now we want to visualize this. We want the health bar to represent the current health of the player. First of all, we can do this here. We will access the child object. So own.children, and then here we type the name of the child, which is, you can see it here, health bar, or you can even copy it, paste it here. So we access the child object. We want to update its X scale. So type .world scale .x, and then it will be equal to, here's the formula. The formula is current health divided by maximum health times, you'll see what. So current health divided by maximum health, max health, times let's fix this like so. I want you to see everything here. So current health divided by max health times the maximum X scale of this health bar, which is, you can see here, if you press N, the X scale is 1. Okay, so press here 1. And this is it. The only thing we are left with to do is we'll copy this here and set it to 0. So in this condition, we update the health to be 0 and we update the X scale of the health bar to be 0 as well. And it cannot go lower because of this condition. Okay, so now if we test everything, I hope we did everything right. Press P to play, press spacebar, nothing happens because, do we have any? Oh yes, we have an error. You can see here in the file takedamage.py line 11, we cannot compare integer with string. It's because damage, because it's a message, it's a string type of value, so we have to convert it. And now, knowing that we expect only integer convertible values, we can just do this: damage equals int for integer damage. And now everything should be fine, I think. Let's see. Press spacebar. Well, now we can calculate this. The damage of our player is 100 and the health of our enemy is 900, so we have to press this spacebar 9 times. We have pressed it once, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it went down to 0. If I press spacebar again, nothing happens because, again, of this condition. And that's about it, except for we can, of course, simulate the death of the enemy. We'll add another script, text, new, and then die.py. We will go here again, we will select everything, Ctrl C to copy, and we will paste this here. We don't need everything up till here, and then everything here, we don't need it. And yep, we should only check if the message, I will add a Python controller here and connect it to the message, and I will choose the die script. We want the script to check if the message sensor has been activated or it's positive, and then we want to check if the current health is less than or equal to 0, which we don't need actually. We should only check if it's equal to 0 because of that condition back there, we cannot go below 0. And if this particular condition is okay, we will on.end object. And you can see now we specified the script here. If I press P to play and then damage my enemy, you can see that it dies when it should. So this is everything for today, guys. Please like, subscribe and share. A huge shout out for my patrons, and see you in the next one.